Welcome to the Gleeful Meeple, a podcast all about board games where strategy meets laughter, and you might be lucky enough to find an ocarina as you stroll through a meadow. In this episode, we're joined by a special guest to talk about horror in board games. We learn about the food chain in this week's game of the show, Meadow. And you, the Gleeples, get to play along as the hosts get put in the hot seat with this week's game challenge. So get your backpack ready for a day of walking and maybe even some kayaking, because we're off to discover some new fields, see wildlife in action, and maybe even find some forgotten trinkets along the way. Hey, fellow outdoorsy types. This is James.
I'm Emily.
Hi, this is Dwayne.
I'm Adam Heenan.
I'm JK, and my favorite horror movie is The Exorcist.
You know, I haven't seen that one, but I also haven't seen a lot of horror movies.
It really screwed me up.
Really?
Yeah, my mom made the wise move to get HBO when it was first coming out in the 70s. And so me as the stay-at-home child with parents off working at night decided at 8 years old I was okay to watch The Exorcist.
The appropriate time to watch it for the first time.
Yeah, it may have done some emotional damage.
No, my idea of a horror movie growing up, because I did not watch them a lot, but what terrified me the most was the monkeys on roller skates in The Wizard of Oz 2.
The second one.
Second
The
one.
Return to Oz?
Yeah. Do you remember that?
I think the whole Return
Was
to
it
Oz is
animate-
nightmare fuel.
It terrified me.
Was that the animated one, James?
No, it was real. And some of the characters, the way they did it is they put these put the actors on all fours with rollerblades or roller skates or something like that. That's the way that the practical effects team did it. And it terrified me.
Okay.
That's what gave me nightmares growing up.
Yeah, I don't know that I have like a nightmare-driven fuel. I was always kind of like, I don't know if desensitized is the word, but I was never super scared of scary movies because I had a rational brain. But I mean, I love the classic.
I'm sorry.
What are you saying about me now?
I'm super rational, so I get unfazed by horror movies.
My 8-year-old brain wasn't rational.
I knew it was all fake.
You know, they do say that sociopaths are not affected by those kind of movies. So
I'm pretty sure my dad let me watch Carrie growing, like when I was
Wow.
way too young to watch Carrie.
That's it. I was too young when The Dark Knight Rise, whatever the Joker one was.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight. It was like I wasn't allowed to watch that, and so I watched that one as an adult. Apparently, I was going to be too scared of it as a kid.
Huh. Well, folks, we have brought another guest from the Gleeful Meeple crew onto our show. And
I'm really excited about this one, JK.
Yeah. Adam has a very interesting path to getting into Gleeful Meeple. So, Adam, at one point, why don't you tell us about Meeples and Ale?
Yeah, so when Tailgate Brewery first opened over in West Nashville, some friends and I decided, hey, you know what? We like beer and we like board games, so why don't we just meet up here and do that thing? And it kind of evolved into a meetup group. And so we've been doing it there for, I guess, 8 years now, because that's how long they've been open, right? We pretty much...
I'm so glad you decided not to call it beers and board games. The alliteration's nice, but it's...
Meeples and Ale sounds classy.
Yeah.
I think beer and board games was already taken.
I would not be
Actually,
surprised.
I don't want to trash talk another board gaming group.
Well, and then
I think they have a YouTube. Sorry.
Somewhere along the line, our group also started having game events at Tailgate, and we quickly learned, oh, you're the other group that comes to Tailgate, and that would not stand. I wasn't going to have that. I was like, who's this other group? And we got to meet Adam, and we got to hang out with his group at a couple events, and found out that they were just delightful people. And since they were already doing a regular event at Tailgate, we kind of ceded that territory and said, we're not going to set foot in Tailgate anymore. That's Meeples and Ales.
There was a turf war in there. There was a board game turf war for a while in Nashville.
We wagged fingers. There were no knives involved, but
we just had our little slice. You guys had the rest of Nashville, and then I guess that group kind of fell apart, and then we merged. And
in true monopolistic fashion, we took over.
the
Or at least
sum
that's how I
is, the
remember
sum
it.
is
No.
greater than the individual parts.
That's definitely
That's not what happened.
And then Gleeful Meeple was born.
So Meeple and Ale kind of became part of our new group, and Adam has still maintained his regular board game nights at Tailgate every other Tuesday through the month.
Technically the second and fourth.
It's the second and fourth. Yeah.
So if there's 5 Tuesdays in a month, it's
I
not
know that
every
kind of
other.
screws us up every
And
now and then.
we used to have some that had 3 in a month.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
every few months, something magical happens where the fourth Tuesday is also the last Tuesday, which is important for beer mug club members at Tailgate because we can drink anything on draft for $1, most anything for
Yes.
$1, which
Yes.
is super cool.
Adam, how did you get into board games?
Oh, geez. I always liked them growing up, even though no one in my family would play them. I liked Monopoly and all that, playing with my friends.
Oh my God, this is what it feels like when doves cry. I hear you 1,000%.
And so then, I got into high school and really got into Magic the Gathering because that was the style at the time.
Yep.
And D&D, and then college, just, exponential growth from there.
Well, and it might have been spoiled a little bit by our early conversation banter, but is there a genre of game that you kind of find in your wheelhouse?
So, I love strategy, like long-winded strategy games with a long con, but cooperative games are really easy to teach other people. So that's why I tend to play those a lot, especially at meetups. Because while you teach the rules of strategy games, you hold back the strategy because you don't want them to beat you on your own strategy, right? Whereas with a cooperative game, you don't really do that, right? You want everyone to win. So I end up playing a lot of Eldritch Horror, Arkham Horror, and things like that.
Do you remember what your first game? Because the Arkham File series, which is the umbrella that all these Fantasy Flight Arkham games fall under now, it's expansive. Do you remember what your first Arkham Files game was?
Oh, it was Arkham Horror 2nd edition.
Oh yeah, yeah. Same for me. A pretty heavy game. It could take 3 or 4 hours to play a lot of times. There's a lot of upkeep.
Every time.
No, you can lose horribly very quickly in that
that's
game
true,
too.
that's true.
Yeah, because the most important thing to remember about an Arkham's File game, and it doesn't matter which one you play, the game hates you. The game wants to make your life miserable. In fact, there is something called the Grim Rule in the Arkham Horror card game, which is if you don't know how a rule works, just take the worst outcome because the game really wants you to have a bad time.
So, backing up for a second, what exactly is Arkham Horror?
Oh yeah, that's her, Adam. Adam, go ahead. Take us through some Arkham Horror.
Should we just focus on Arkham Horror? Should it be an abbreviated history of the Arkham File games?
Well, what is the basis?
So Arkham Horror has 3 editions now, and the 2nd edition is the one I'm most familiar. Well, actually, 3rd edition is the one I'm most familiar with. But anyway, it's kind of a turn-based cooperative game where you and the team are trying to close portals and prevent the Ancient One from awakening and entering the Earth and destroying humanity.
So all based on the writings of H.P. Lovecraft. Well, the mythos that H.P. Lovecraft originally created with the Cthulhu stories and things like that, and other authors have gotten into that. So some of the monsters that we see are actually like later additions from the Arkham mythos. But yeah, a lot of it is based on Lovecraft's writings and that storyline.
The interesting thing is you'll see a lot of Cthulhu games because Lovecraft is in the public domain, but companies like Fantasy Flight have created their own investigators or their own monsters, and that's why you don't necessarily see those crossing over into other things.
Oh, that makes sense.
I actually think I only know Dwayne because of Arkham Horror.
That is true. Yeah. Go ahead.
You want to tell her? You me too.
Oh my God. Well, I'll tell it from my perspective because I was getting in line for an Arkham Horror event, or actually, I was in line at the Fantasy Flight booth at Gen Con to get a new expansion. Yep.
The Blob and Final Hour had both just released.
Yeah, and so I see a guy in line who, and also I love that Adam was like, I have one story to tell, and then I took over his story. I see this guy in a Tennessee Ghostbusters shirt. I'm like, hey, what part of Tennessee are you from? And Adam said Nashville. And I said, do you have any board game groups there? And he said, I'm a part of Meeples and Ale. I said, oh, I know this guy, Adam. We're Facebook friends. And he goes, I am.
I am he.
He is me. I am he.
And it was the first time we met, and then from that point on, we ran into each other all the time. Not even like trying to show up at the same.
Concerts, like it was a
concerts,
little
movie
weird.
premieres. Yeah. One of us was probably stalking the other one, but yeah, that was
won't
really
admit
fun.
Well, we're kind of deep diving, a little bit of Arkham history here because there's a genre of board games that it kind of falls under, which is just horror games and things that you might make an effort to play around the Halloween season.
Yes.
But it's not always the best represented. I mean, there aren't a ton. At least I'm not an expert in this, so I'd be curious to hear y'all's opinions. When you think of horror games, what are the things that stand out? What are the top games? I mean, Arkham, there's a lot there, but man, horror games, there's not a lot there. That, to my mind.
I think that there are companies that have kind of hung their hat on horror games. Ooh, that's a lot of alliteration.
Hung their hat on horror.
I think of Fantasy Flights, which has a wide library, but Arkham Files is a huge chunk of that library. And then there's also Twilight Creations, which gave us the Zombies series, which
Love those.
has like 14 expansions, plus there's a medieval offshoot. So you do have these companies. Trick or Treat is another one that I can think of.
Horrified is another one that comes to mind.
Yeah. Horrified, if you're not familiar with it, a few versions of that, but it was just classic Universal monsters. So it was, again, a co-op game, but you're fighting Dracula, Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon. And when the first time I played it, what stood out to me is this is just Arkham Horror Light. Like, it has a lot of the same kind of mechanics. The theme, if you replace Dracula with Cthulhu, you pretty much got a Cthulhu game.
There's a new one coming out, by the way, I think it's World Monsters.
It is already out. And guess who has it?
Is this World Monsters like
Cthulhu.
Godzilla and Chupacabra, that kind of thing?
No, that's already been done.
Okay.
At least with the localized, like the Chupacabra was in that kind of stuff was one of the other horrifieds where they did regional monsters.
I think it's North American Monsters or something like that. Cryptids essentially is what it should have been called.
I see. Okay.
Chupacabra, Bigfoot. The new one has Cthulhu. I'm going to mispronounce it. It's the Jinn from Asia.
Oh.
Aladdin?
That would be
we saw
Middle Eastern.
very different versions of Aladdin and also countries of origin.
But when I think of horror just as a genre, like my mind goes to movies.
Sure.
Which I didn't grow up watching, but I think of like how there's a lot of feelings, I would say, that playing board games can, cause you to experience.
Yeah.
Evoke. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word I was going towards. It evokes a lot of feelings when you play board games. Horror and being scared and fear, it's a tough one.
Yeah, sure. I think a lot of horror games kind of look to it is hard to scare someone in a board game unless you have someone coming up like doing jump scares, but I think desperation is what horror games are trying to evoke.
That's what I was thinking.
It's building the suspense.
Yeah, because that's how, like, in our Cthulhu game, like we said it in a previous episode, it's like it is a game that beats you up, and so you're constantly on this like recovery, like you're constantly on the defense. Like I think about like the Pandemic even has that. Like
I was thinking the same thing, because isn't Pandemic actually a horror game? Like if you really put yourself in that situation, like we are desperately trying to control 4 viruses that have
globally
gone
off the rails.
Guys, we couldn't handle one virus as a society. Could you imagine 4 at the same time?
One of the games that I've leaned into for horror is going to be Final Girl. And Dwayne, I know you're a big fan as well.
It's set up on the table over there right now.
I think I can consistently say every time I have sat down to play that game, there's a point in the game where I look at the scenario, I look at how I'm playing, and I go, oh, I've got this. This is fine. I'm in great shape. And within a couple turns, I go, oh, I'm going to lose.
I do not have this.
It's that dread and desperation where all of a sudden something goes bad, and you're thinking, I can't recover from this. I'm not going to win. And it's a weird feeling.
It's
But
like
then when you pull it out, it makes it so awesome.
Yeah, I've not pulled it out after that.
definitely the
it's gone
opposite
badly
of
every
cozy
time.
gaming.
I have come back for some Eldritch horror games that I thought were lost.
Yeah, you have to play them. Even that's what I have learned early on in my my co-op and my solo gaming experiences is like even when things look bleak, play it out because there is a chance. That's what you're going for. You're hoping for that 1 in a million dice roll that you pull off, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have swung this game hard in the other direction now.
Is that what keeps you coming back to the horror games as opposed to like other cooperative games that might not have such dread in them?
Yeah, I think so. Because, I mean, a good cooperative game, in my opinion, you want to lose more than you win, or else what's the point of even playing, right?
Yeah.
Because if it's super easy, then you're not going to come back and play it again because you know you're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
So by the way, the Sphinx, the Yeti, the Jingashi,
That's the one I was afraid to pronounce.
and Cthulhu
Clearly
are the monsters in the world of monsters. Horrified. So as fans of horror, probably movies as well, I would imagine both, and TV shows and other genres, is the mark of a good horror board game, since it's so hard to duplicate jump scares and fear and stuff like that you can experience in other mediums. Is it always being behind your chances of winning? Is it just being difficult? Is that like, should every, like, if a board game designer is making a horror game, does it need to always be hard? Is that what kind of draws you to it? Because in most other, books or movies, it's always, you're always, in a tough spot. It's never easy.
I think so. Because, I mean, like I said, I really like strategy games. I really like the long strategy games. And I think in Arkham and Eldritch and Arkham the card game, you can kind of pull out a strategy depending on what card you've just pulled or what's in the marketplace, or the dice roll, like you said. So,
Well, and the other thing about those games is specifically thinking of Arkham Files, it is the story that is being told as you play the game. And it is really fun to get into character and kind of role play those scenarios out. I know that there is a card in second edition that like you find a body and you get items from it, and it's like, and some of the items you get is a motorcycle. Wait, I reached into this guy's body or this monster's body and I found a motorcycle. That's amazing.
well, it's the keys, obviously. It's the keys.
Is it?
Adam, have you played Dead of Winter?
Yes, I have played Dead of Winter.
Okay.
I do enjoy that one quite a bit.
That's another one that I think it has that dread feeling because you can't really do anything in the game without either taking up resources or putting your own character at risk. And it really has you questioning, do I take an action or do I just stay where I'm at?
And that's the one that has another mechanic you can add in where someone might be a betrayer,
Yes.
correct? So that adds another level of complexity to it where, you're questioning who's on your team and who's the enemy.
And the win conditions for the game, like you have an overall win condition for the whole group, but then each individual player also has, hey, you kind of get an extra win if you complete this task. And then the trader has the extra win if they just disrupt everything and cause the game to fall into a loss.
And a game that's a little bit more like Dead of Winter and a little less like Eldritch, to your point, is I just picked up The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh, yeah.
It is a social deduction type game where there's at least 2 people on your team that are trying to sabotage you and keep you on the base, right? They're the thing. So I think that horror films lend really well to social deduction too, and I think it's underutilized in social deduction games.
Do the 2 players know they're working together?
If I've only played it once,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, they don't.
Ooh.
That would make sense. My only play of that was a 3. At our player count, we only had one. We only had one infected to start with, so I don't know if they know.
But can that change during the course of the game, do you think?
Yes.
There are mechanics where you can look at people's roles, and then also there's you can infect other people if you are the thing, and there's just I think it does the movie really well.
That does take us into horror films specifically turned into board games. And The Thing is a great example. I also played Texas Chainsaw Massacre recently, and I think that's Trick or Treat that's doing those games maybe. I'll probably fact check this at some point. But that was interesting because you're on the Sawyer farm running around trying to hide from the family, and you have different objectives in that game.
That is Trick or Treat.
Ah, hey.
So that's the second time we've mentioned them on the show.
Nice, yeah. Shout out to Trick or Treat for making some interesting horror board games. I think they've also done Halloween, and there's one more in their collection, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was an intro. Anybody else play? I know that's been making the rounds at events lately. Anybody else get to try that one?
I've seen it.
No.
I've not been in a play session for it.
One thing that seems to be recurring when I hear you guys describe these games is the theme, is the setting. It's like that really evokes the feelings behind this being a horror game.
Sure.
It's not just the mechanics of the game. Even if mechanically it was sound, but the theme wasn't coming through, would you be as excited to play it if you were itching for that horror dread kind of game?
I think the theme definitely sells it, like you said. But good mechanics do make good games, so I would try it. I don't know, like you said, I don't know if I'd be as excited, but
That's what, I think the theme can just help elevate. Like if it's a good structured game, the theme might be like the hook or the eye catcher, not necessarily the thing that keeps you staying there. That's why, Dwayne and I have this conversation, I feel quarterly of Unfathomable versus Battlestar Galactica. And it's just I'm a real big fan of the Lovecraftian lore and the mythos and all that stuff. And so it's I really like Unfathomable, but we watched Battlestar miniseries and I'm okay, now I get some of the lore behind this theme and I'm really enjoying this as well.
I haven't played Unfathomable, but I could totally see, because I played a lot of Battlestar Galactica, but I would feel differently playing those two games.
Yeah.
It is a different sort of of dread.
Mood.
Yeah.
It's a
That's a good
totally
word for
different
it.
vibe, but it's literally the exact same game.
It really is.
mechanics wise.
Would you totally lose the feel of Pandemic if you had to rid the world of 4 different species of bunnies?
Oh yeah, that's a different vibe for sure.
Yeah.
Well, are they necro bunnies? Or are they what are we talking about?
They're just juicy bunnies. We want them gone.
Lupindemic.
I have never gotten to play Unfathomable. I think it's the only Fantasy Flight game I haven't played.
Let's change that up,
That
Adam.
needs to happen.
Yeah.
And you just reminded me, there is a Cthulhu Pandemic,
Yes.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, absolutely.
and it does change the game.
So, James, I have another real-world example for you. Emily, I think what you said about Battlestar versus Unfathomable is great, but we talked about Final Girl a little bit already, and Final Girl is based on the engine of Final Girl, rolling dice for successes and playing cards and rolling dice for the outcome, was based on an earlier Van Ryder game called Hostage Negotiator. Now, I got into Hostage Negotiator first, really loved it.
It's good. It's a good game.
It is a good game, and they came out with a career mode eventually that you can play this mini legacy game, which is super cool. Loved it so much. The moment I played Final Girl, I have not taken Hostage Negotiator back off the shelf because in this case, that horror theme and the slight nods to 80s and 90s horror films that are in Final Girl makes it the superior game for me, even though they are the same game for the most part.
Do we have any fans here of Aliens, the movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I really liked the first one.
You all consider
I didn't
those
see the others.
horror movies?
The first one's sci-fi, the second one's
The grand
action,
debate.
but they do have that horror-ness to them.
I would say the first one was a horror movie set in space, and then after that, it became sci-fi.
Okay, because one game that I would expect to see come out at our events more often, and I don't, just maybe because it's kind of big and hefty, is Nemesis. Have you all played that?
It gets
One
played
time.
a lot at tailgate.
I have been told
never
I
made
would
it
really
out
like
It's played a lot at
One
Okay.
time. It's a big
Oh
chunky
yeah, that's a
beast.
big boy.
Here's what I think is probably the biggest downside to Nemesis is that it's a big setup. It's a big teach that you could lose almost immediately.
Ooh, that's
Oh
fun.
jeez.
Yeah.
No thanks.
There is an Aliens game, and I own it. It is Funko, I believe, and it's not too bad. I like it. It's you've got to kind of repair the ship and get to an escape pod.
What's the name of that one, Adam? Is it
I think it's just called Alien.
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
I played an Alien game, and I can't remember. I felt like it was like, what's the name of the ship?
Nostromo.
I thought it was Nostromo.
The Fate of the Nostromo, I think is the
that
game.
Sounds right, yeah.
I'm looking at the box for Nemesis, and it's like 26 high-quality miniatures, 300 plus cards, 20 cardboard room tiles, 200 other components, 1 two-sided cardboard map, 2 plastic inserts.
And you're exploring the ship, so it's kind of like a discovering new ground. You could literally open the door to the room right next to you, and the alien queen is there. And that early in the game, you don't have a chance.
That would be a rage quit.
Yeah, there's hidden roles in that one too. It's basically Aliens, the board game, without the official license.
Right.
But I just hear a lot of amazing things about that one. I've never had a chance to play it.
Yeah, I want to correct myself. It's Alien: Fate of the Nostromo, and it's Ravensburger, not Funko.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Are there any games that are, horror games that you like to always try to bring out, say around Halloween or something like that? Because, the holidays are great times to I have some games on my shelf that are Christmas, themed-ish that, I kind of just make an effort to specifically and intentionally bring out around Christmas just because.
Just to celebrate the
I know,
season.
Yeah. Y'all play Arkham throughout the year, but
Yes.
are there any games specifically that you make an intentional effort to come out, just around Halloween time?
I know we've mentioned it before, but I think Horrified, because I am a huge fan of the Universal Monsters, and I don't think they get enough love. So I definitely bring that one around Halloween.
Yep, I have a friend who does a Halloween party, and Horrified usually shows up on the table. My one that one that I don't play throughout the year, and I really like to bring it out around spooky season, is Mall of Horror, which could also be called Dawn of the Dead, the board game. And one of the things that I like we've talked about quite a few horror games today, and a lot of them are co-op. Mall of Horror doesn't buy into that stuff. Actually, the theme of Mall of Horror is to try to kill off all the other characters, not directly with violence, but sorry, there's not enough room in the food court for one more player. You're going to have to deal with the zombies on your own. So that is it's a game that the mechanics, there's nothing else quite like it. And Dawn of the Dead is a favorite of mine to watch around Halloween. So Mall of Horror is the game that I pair with that.
I think we're probably going to have villagers coming after us with pitchforks if we don't take time to mention Blood on the Clock Tower as a modern horror classic.
Our favorite group to pander to.
Yeah.
That one gets played year round, like Eldridge, I think.
That gets played daily by our group. I would love to see the stats, but I'm willing to say there's probably runs of maybe even a month that someone in our group has played.
At least
played
5
Blood
people
on the
in
Clock
our
Tower.
group.
There's a group actually going to Las Vegas soon to play at a Blood on the Clock Tower conference.
They have a convention there. Yeah. The only game on my shelf that is remotely horror themed is Horrified, because it's so good mechanically speaking. But there is one that came out on crowdfunding not too long ago that's since been delivered that I passed on, but I saw it on your shelf, JK. Have you played Dreadful Meadows yet?
I have.
Oh, that sounds delightful.
And it's a weird game in that it's horror themed. I mean, it's definitely a Halloween theme to it with monsters and candy. No dread whatsoever.
Right.
It is not a scary game. Actually, I think Adam, you played that with me at an event.
I think so.
Yeah.
Is that
building out the little
Fields of
factories
candy?
that get candy.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely not horror themed though. I think in my collection, I was just kind of doing a quick glance over. I'm probably limited to Final Girl and Cthulhu Death May Die. It's not a genre that's pretty prevalent in my collection.
I was about to say, we haven't even mentioned Death May Die yet.
That was a fun experience. We featured that on a previous episode on the podcast. So if you didn't listen to that one, it's a great discussion. Another cooperative game that just beats you down relentlessly. But super fun, very thematic, and easy to play actually.
It is easy to play for as much stuff as is moving in that game. It really boils down to a few simple mechanics.
I have taken it to a meetup or two, and it is awesome to see the looks on the people that aren't a part of our group when you have the 3-foot Cthulhu on the table playing around it.
Do you have that too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's 2 of them in our
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
We got to have
Mine's
him
not
and
painted.
Have you painted? That was the next question.
Mine's
we need him and
grayscale.
Galactus to fight it out one day in a game somehow.
And I'm in.
Last question on my mind. Do you know of any games you've played that actually playing the game was a scary experience?
Like scary and not dread scary.
Like you actually were feeling fear or anxiousness playing the game.
Whenever Dwayne starts yelling randomly in a
That
game
could
that
be.
I don't think deserves yelling.
I don't know that I definitely can say the answer for me is no, but I'm not a big horror game person, so I don't know if they're out there
but also this question's for
that
Adam.
cause those feelings.
Yeah, I don't know if I've been afraid of any of the games that I've played. I do get a little, I think, anxiety from like escape games when the clock's going and the team's taking too long because
That's a good little tangent,
yeah.
like real time games,
Yeah.
adding that stress. Yeah, I could see that.
there was one that I played that was basically Frankenstein that was a little stressful, but I don't know if I would say I was afraid.
Yeah. I think Project Elite does that to some degree, where you are fighting monsters and aliens in real time. Like you have 60 seconds, or you have an amount of time to and everyone's chucking dice continuously during that. So maybe just putting a time, like putting a ticking clock on something helps to bring those emotions forward.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever felt those emotions either. But from our conversation, it really seems like to get that horror theme, if you can play a game where you're able to put yourself in the position of the character you're playing and imagine the situation that they're in, being attacked by Cthulhu, being the one girl, and being chased down by a serial killer or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Those games, Mansions of Madness, putting yourself in the character and being surrounded by what are the characters that always pop up all the time in those games? Cultists, thank you. If you can put yourself in that mindset, in the character you're playing, that seems to really help put you towards feeling like it's a horror game.
Yeah.
If you play any of the Arkham Files with me, I make the table go around and read the back of their card of what their character, where they're from, and their motivation and all that, because I agree with you. I think it adds to the game.
Yeah, storytelling's a big part of that.
I was just about to say that. Like, I think the immersiveness of horror board games is the closest to RPG level while still being a board game, whereas if we're playing Azul, I'm not necessarily thinking about tile laying in Portugal, whatever. But when I'm in Death May Die game, I'm like, and then what did Cthulhu do? Take that, cultist. It gets very, I get very into the story.
Let me ask you a question, cultist.
Adam, thank you so much for joining our conversation.
Yes, Adam,
today.
I have been looking forward to this so much. I love that we're here in the middle of October and all these horror board games, horror movies. It's just a wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, you really helped me kind of expand my my knowledge and maybe interest in. I thought there weren't a lot of horror games, but when you approach it from the right angle, there really is a lot out there to try to go out and try and find some dread.
Horror games, don't be scared of them.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
This week's game of the show is Meadow. Meadow was released in 2021. It's published by Rebel Studio, designed by Clemens Kaliki. The art is by Carolina Kajak, and it plays 1 to 4 players, though Board Game Geek says it's most gleeful with 2. JK, can you help us understand how to play Meadow?
Yeah, Meadow's a quirky little game. You are a outdoors enthusiast exploring nature and trying to observe different animals on your walks. You're also wanting to see different landscapes and perhaps find little trinkets out and about while you're in nature. On your turn, you're going to choose a path that you want to follow. The path that you follow is based on a 4x4 grid, and you're going to have 1 of 4 markers that shows how far down that path you go, 1 to 4 spaces. Once that spot is taken, no one else can take that spot. So if they want a card that's in that row, they have to go on the different axis and try and acquire it that way. Once you have those cards, they are added to a tableau that's in front of you. Now, the catch with the tableau is you start with a couple basic landscapes, be it desert, water, grassland, swamp. and you can only acquire an animal that feels comfortable in that environment. Or you can get additional environments as well. I think you end up with a maximum of 10 environments on your player board. As the game continues and you want to acquire more animals, you have to acquire animals that are predators over the animals you previously chose. So you're working your way further and further up the food chain, all the way to alpha predators, which are deer, wolves, or bears. In addition, there's a bonfire area of the board that gives you some additional actions you can choose and gives you some bonuses based on what landscapes or animals you've acquired up till that point. We were also fortunate enough to play with an expansion to this called Downstream. Downstream adds a river, and instead of going out and picking off of a grid, you're going to advance along spaces down this river, giving you different perks depending on how far you get. Ultimately, at the end of the game, it's all about points. You want to acquire animals that are worth points, find items that are getting you points, get landscapes that are getting you points, and get even more points for going down the river. Meadow, it's pretty to look at. It's brutal to play.
So hard and fun and pleasant.
It is. It's, when you explain the game and you kind of look at what's in front of you, you go, all right, this is easy. This is a nice, lighthearted game. This is going to be fun. I'm going to go grab an otter and see how this goes. It is cutthroat.
It really can be. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a decision space that I did not expect when I first played this game. Like, I didn't expect strategy to be there. It really looked like one of those cozy, pleasant nature games.
Yeah.
And it actually is, it's pretty tough to do well at if you're not thinking a couple turns ahead.
And that's what, I think you can get into that cozy headspace with this game. And it's like, I don't know if that's because of the nature-y theme of it all or whatever. But you can also get into the real competitive space like we did a few rounds.
Yeah, you can totally look at what other people's cards have.
Yes.
And what icons they have and what icons they need to do certain things. Because one thing about this card stacking mechanism that JK mentioned during the run through is that you are finding cards that are the predators of the previous cards that you played. Well, each of these cards has an icon on it, and you need these icons as prerequisites to play certain cards.
Right.
Well, when you take a card from the market, let's call it, and add it, when you cover up that card, the previous one, you also cover up the icon as well. And there are some community goals, we'll call them, that everyone is aiming for over by the campfire board.
Yeah.
And you can see the community goals are based off of the icons currently visible in your tableau. And if you have this and this icon, you can go do something. So if you're watching what everybody else has, and you can tell, okay, they got both of those. Their next turn is probably going to be to do this. I was also going for that. I was going to wait, but now I need to go ahead and do it now. And so you can kind of be a little bit cutthroat like that if you're paying attention to all the icons that everyone has.
So for example, if there's an eagle icon or a bird icon and a caterpillar icon, and you go to the bonfire and there's a bonus space between those two icons, you can claim that and get points for doing that. But you have to be the first one to do it. If you're not, that icon is now out of play.
And that's what, with each round having kind of a restricted number of actions, that's where you have to, like James was saying, prioritize, okay, I really want to go for that card that's kind of in the open area, but I really need to go to the campfire because I have these two icons showing. And if I don't, someone else might get there first.
Yeah, and there's other opportunities. So you're not locked out of getting those extra points. You just have to find a different icon combo to make it happen, and it might take a little while.
Yeah, because that's what the math, because we had four, to claim a spot in between those icons at the campfire. It's you put one of your little circle tokens, and everyone had 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And it was everyone could place.
There's only 11 spaces. So
yes,
in a 4-player game, someone is missing out on on the most
on
possible
a potential,
points you can get.
Yeah. And it's I don't think we filled up our campfire circle anyway.
No.
Because there was a really hard combo to get.
There were a couple of hard ones, yeah.
I think one of the coolest design elements in this game is when you're playing the piece to claim your spot on the XY axis.
Yes.
So you play out a tile, it's going to show 1 through 4 spaces that you can move forward along this path, picking the card that's that many spaces in. But the backside of that token is a special power. And you get to use that special power once per round only if you forego going to the grid and use that piece on the bonfire. Mm-hmm. So you're also trying to figure out, well, there's that card that I really need that's 3 spaces in. The only way I can get to it is using this 3 token, but I also really need to use the special power on the backside of the bonfire. Which way am I going? That to me, that's just brilliant.
Yeah, your decision on your turn is always, do I want to acquire a card or do I want to go to the campfire? And to have that one token do both of those things, so you're sacrificing one for the other, that is also such a great design decision.
And the campfire in general has limited spaces. So what is there, 6 spaces?
In a 4-player game.
In a 4-player game. So once those 6 spaces are taken, if you go to the campfire, you don't get the special power, which is mind-numbing. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the action tokens, it's JK mentioned you go 1, 2, 3, 4, however many in. You have one of each of those numbers. And so it's, if you're trying to go to the campfire early on in the round, it's like, okay, which number am I potentially giving up?
Yeah.
And like, it's just the give and take in this game is crazy. And so like, there have been times where I'm like, okay, I think the grid's going to fill up a certain way. And so I think I want to leave room. Like I want to save my one action, like my path of 1 or path of 4. And like, sometimes the bet wins and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, and now one of the special powers, they help you mitigate that a little bit. One of the special powers is to literally take any card from the grid. So you play it backwards into the campfire and you get to grab any card. And then if you do match one of those combo pairs, you can put one of your bonus scoring tokens out. That's always the bonus of going to the campfire is you get the bonus action on the back of the action token. But then if at that point in time you meet one of those icon combos to put out one of your tokens, you can do that then. But only one at a time. So even if you match 2, you have to wait a whole other round to get back to there and sacrifice another turn by going to the campfire. And I say sacrifice because, you do want cards in this game. That is a lot of what the game comes down to. So it can hurt sometimes to go to the campfire, but most of the time because of the powers you're getting, or if you're getting to score an extra bonus, a token, it's usually always worth it.
So let's talk more about the expansion. Both of you played kind of like more to the river strategy than I did. So walk us through what was going on over there.
So the river option also has a grid. It's not a 4x4 grid like the regular
like
Meadow game sets up. It's almost like a pyramid.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah. So you pick which row you want to acquire another card from, and they are all aquatic themed, either aquatic landscapes or fish or aquatic animals. And they have paddles on there. You have paddles that range from a value of 1 through 4. You move forward down the river that many spaces, however many paddles you put into play. As you get to the very, very end of the river, it's worth a lot of points. If you reach the end of the river, I think you get 20 points at end game. If you're only halfway down the river, it's 5, 6, 7, something along those lines. The points really build up late in the river. But throughout the river, there's different bonus spots where you might acquire different cards. You might get a special bonus power one time. There's a couple spots where there's 4 little chits. And if you're the first person that's there, you can pick the chit you want, leaving the other ones behind for the later players. So there was a lot of strategy going in there. I went pretty heavy on the river just because in the early game, I could figure out kind of where you guys were all going from the bonfire. And I knew my only options were to go elsewhere. But within the 4x4 grid of animal cards, none of those icons were coming up. So I was trying to kill time on the river and let this reset.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's I felt like I got an early lead on the river and I was like, all right, let's go. I'm doing the river strat. And then I just could not get river cards that would go on my tableau. They have the ore that tells you how many spaces you can row forward. And I just wasn't getting any momentum. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get out of this lane. I'm going to go back to the other grid.
Yeah.
And one of your actions every round, you have to hang out in that. You have to get a card from that 3, 2, 1 grid. And so I ended up just kind of grabbing the cards that have the most amount of ore arrows, chevrons, so that I could try to kind of slow you guys down.
Yeah, because you get the card, but in order to get that movement down the river, you have to play it out.
And it's like I just couldn't play it out as well.
Yeah, the river cards have some other requirements. It introduces a new landscape type, which is water. And if you get a fish card type from the river grid, if you would, the 3-2-1 grid, it has to be played on a column with water. So there's some new requirements that you have to consider in order to play cards out that you're acquiring from that area. And I have played this game a lot with and without the expansion, and I've seen people go no river, all river, a mix of both. And so far, I've seen it to be really balanced. You can win both ways.
Yeah.
You can totally ignore it, and just go full on base game while everyone else does river, and still win.
I was surprised at how well I did, not doing the river. Like I only got, I think, one bonus from the river, if that. Or it's like I still gathered a lot of points.
Well, one of the rules to the game is you do want to acquire cards. Acquiring cards is a must-have in this game. And when you do play your token out to the river side of the board, you're guaranteed you're going to get a card. Whether you can do anything with it is kind of a moot point. Because if you have to play a card to your tableau and you're missing an animal icon that you need, you can instead discard 2 cards out of your hand to replace that. So even if you're getting junk cards that you can't really use, there's value to them in the late game.
Because that's almost kind of, that's exactly how I operated. And then I would try to use the action that had the campfire action that I had the bonus of playing 2 cards.
Yeah.
Because depending on how many cards I had in my hand, I would get the water cards and then play just a different card from my hand to my tableau. And then I would just collect water cards until I was ready to kind of use them. And then just use the play 2 cards so I could just try to make up for lost time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it can be pretty challenging sometimes because in order to play these cards out into your tableau, every card has a requirement on it that you have to have currently present in your tableau. So this card wants you to have currently present a cockroach symbol, a bird symbol, and then maybe also a fence symbol. You have to have all of those 3 things showing currently. And then if you do, you can pick one of those 3 columns where those icons are present and play it on top of it. And it can be challenging sometimes to make that happen.
Especially when there's not a lot of houses coming out to the grid.
But all early in the game, no.
But if you can visualize this, listeners, in your mind, like JK mentioned, you have a maximum of 10 imaginary invisible columns. And then as you're playing these cards out, you're playing them stacked on top of each other. So you end up with, at the end of the game, you might have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever columns of cards, all of varying, you can say heights, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's at the end of the game, you're looking at, all the points you have on those cards, as well as some of the cards you can gain from the grid are landscape cards, where it kind of represents you discovering this new field. And you can get those field cards, and they play off to the side, outside of your 10 columns. And they're also worth points. And then on top of that, once you have a landscape card, kind of that field card in play, you can also find cards that represent trinkets and little discoveries little treasures. And it's perfect, Emily. And once you get those, you have to have a landscape existing already. You can play that on top of that, and that represents you kind of discovering this new field and stumbling across an ocarina or whatever.
But to have those landscape cards, you first have to have a base on which to play them, and to get that base, you have to go to the bonfire with a special action that you're sacrificing one of your tokens to use. So. I hit a point where really you guys left me with very few options. I could go after landscapes all day, but I kept using my piece that got me the roads, so I had nowhere to play them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was hosed the whole game. James, you brought up an interesting point that you've played this repeatedly, both with and without the expansion. If there is a downside to this game that I think if I do have a complaint about it, it's a tough teach. It's a quirky game. It's a little challenging because there's a lot to really go over in each segment of the board. Would you say if you were to play this game with exclusively new players, Do you scrap Meadow?
Downstream, you mean?
Downstream, yeah.
just scrap the game and just don't play it.
Yeah,
Just don't play it.
Do you scrap the downstream expansion and just play the base game?
Yeah, I think so. Because I think what the game presents itself to be when you're setting it up, the artwork in this game, guys, is gorgeous. It's beautiful.
All
so
painted cards.
pretty.
You know,
I mean,
it's no Vincent Dutrait, but it's pretty good. I'll say that.
It is really good. There's a whole book, a booklet that comes with the game because all the cards are numbered. And there's a booklet that gives you descriptions for every single animal and creature and insect that's in the game. So if you want to nerd out on that, you can do that while you're playing. It's really fun. But when you're setting the game up and you're getting it all ready and you have a table of new people looking at this, oh my, this is beautiful. It's just animals and it's just gorgeous. This is going to be a pleasant thing. And then the teach is double of the time that it normally would be.
Yeah.
Because that is one thing I had forgotten and remembered when I was teaching all you guys during our last play that, man, this is actually it's a pretty beefy teach when you add that expansion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of extra things you have to go over. So long-winded way of saying I would not play with downstream the first time. It's not that it makes it more complicated. It just takes longer to get into the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is the big thing.
Yeah.
I would agree with that sentiment. But the flip side of that, if I'm playing with a group of people that have all played this before, I'm absolutely playing it
every time.
Oh,
downstream
100%.
every time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now as many times as I can, I will always play with it baked in. And to that point, my copy of Meadow has it baked in.
Yeah.
I have it all together.
Same.
So if I had to separate it out one time, I would. But also, the table of new players is also dependent as well. If I'm playing with new players to Meadow, but I know they're pretty seasoned gamers, I'll probably still kind of push it and go ahead and play with it.
So, are there any other negatives?
Yes. My big negative about this game is nothing about how it plays. The action selection drafting mechanism is awesome, and the experience of playing it. My downside is that it is long.
It's chunky, yeah.
And it is longer than you would expect.
That's what it feels like when you get math homework and you're like, okay, I only have 3 questions in math homework. And then you get to question number 1. And then it's 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, and 1E. And then you get to question 2. It's 2A, 2B. That's kind of how I felt with this because it was 8 rounds?
It's 8 rounds.
8 rounds.
In each rounds, we have 5 decisions, 5 turns to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like 8 multi-part questions of math homework.
Yeah. We did hit a point. Now, truth be told, when we played this, we started at about the normal-ish hour of the night. I think we did. And James even said, hey, this is a longer game. If we feel like we need to tap out earlier, cut it down at half the point, we can. And little me, full of energy, went, no, let's just ride this out and play the whole thing.
So naive.
And by turn 7, when you guys were thinking of your actions, I'm sitting on the other side of the table going, oh my God, just make a move, please. I want to go home sometime this year.
It was one of those like, yeah, I JK and I were talking about it like after this date, and JK was like, oh my gosh, your analysis paralysis. It wasn't that. It was I was losing my train of thought over and over and over again. So it was like every time it was my turn, I had to like start back from scratch on what I was supposed to be doing. So it is one of those towards like the second half of the game, if you have a person in your game group that can just motivate the players along in a kind way, that actually might be beneficial.
Yeah, and that's part of why I don't mind adding in the expansion because truthfully, even the base game is pretty long because it's 8 rounds. I've thought about house ruling
it's
it.
8 rounds.
Turns with 4
players
instead of 5.
Yeah, and that's with 4 players. It does go down with fewer players. Which,
so I do understand why it's like probably best at 2.
Yes, I was going to make that point. That's why BGG Board Game Geek says that. But at the same time, games where you have a market of cards where you're drafting with 2 players, I've never had that play well because it doesn't change enough.
Yeah.
Right. That's
So,
what I really appreciated from the 4-player.
Yeah.
I really did enjoy the 4-player experience over my 2-player experience for that reason. There's just, and then like with the expansion's going to change up a lot of stuff too.
So maybe 3 players is the sweet spot. I can't remember
Or
if
you
I
get the
played
best
it
of both
3.
worlds.
If I played it 3 or not.
Maybe you play this on a game day where you're going to get everybody in. You play the game. You play the first 4 rounds. You break. You have a snack. You go chill out for a while.
That's definitely
you come
the way
back in
to
for
play
the back
games.
half.
Yeah.
So I feel like that the base game is a little long for what it is, just a bit. But I don't mind that the expansion makes it a little bit longer because I no longer feel that it's long for what it is because what it is becomes more.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going down this river with a kayak. I'm getting bonuses. So I feel like I'm getting more out of that time than I am just with the base game. But it is longer, but I feel like I get what I'm putting my time in for.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, that's my only negative really is the length.
I really didn't have a negative out of this. It is a longer game, but it's pleasant. It's fun. It's a good brain burner. It's so frustratingly annoying when somebody grabs the card that you plan to grab because you have to kind of rethink your whole turn at that point. For me, it's absolutely keep it in the collection, keep it to play. But much like you said, James, if I'm playing it with new folks, I'm only going to roll out base game. If I'm playing it with experienced people, downstream just adds so much to the game. It's great.
Yep, same for me. Keep it to play, staying in my collection. It is a collection essential. And I would even go as far to say this is a top 10 game for me. Nothing else plays like it. Now, the only other game I know that uses that action select drafting mechanic is Quadropolis.
Yeah.
And I enjoy Quadropolis, but I don't know of another game that uses that. There might be one. I just don't know what it is, but it's not very common.
Like you could maybe say Targi.
That's more the XY axis of you're choosing a point in the axis as your turn, not you're counting in many spaces.
Right.
But it gets close, yeah. So very unique mechanism, and then you attach to that the 10 imaginary columns where you're stacking cards up into those columns and covering symbols you previously had. So you're always thinking, man, I had that symbol, but now I don't because I got rid of it. And just that you're always having to think of that, like your board state's constantly changing because of that.
Yeah.
It's just super, super neat, gorgeous to look at. Nothing else like it. Yeah, it's a keep it to play for me.
Yeah, that's what I don't have too many other unique thoughts apart from what you've already said. So this is a keep it to play for me. I just love how pleasant of a game this is. It kind of hits that cozy, kind of hits that competitive. I don't feel like I'm trapped in a corner. If someone takes my card, I feel like I can still kind of like work my way out of it. And I'm excited to have it in my collection soon. So That makes this a 3 out of 3 present hosts.
Because Dwayne is not here for this segment.
And
we did not get his opinions on this one. I will say, based on where the scoring fell, I'm not sure that Dwayne would have been in agreement with us as to how good this game was.
I think that was also his first play, right?
I think it was. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, who won?
Emily, it wasn't you and I.
Nope, it wasn't. I got second place, though. Like I said, I did pretty well.
Yeah. Congratulations to James for being the apex predator of our game.
Oh, man. I ate you guys up. I don't know what else to say to that.
So what does that mean, James? What you got for us?
Ooh, do I have a game for you? I was going to give you guys a choice tonight.
Oh.
And I've made my decision, but I'm curious what you would have said. So if I gave you a choice between polyomino, ancient civilization building, or slide puzzles, what would you have chosen?
What? Slide puzzles.
Like the...
Mm-hmm.
Like you're trying to make a picture?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
I would go with slide puzzles.
I might change my mind on the fly.
I don't know. I'd probably go the ancient civilization one.
Oh, half and half with polyominoes.
Yeah.
Which one did you go with?
We're going to play World Wonders.
I don't even know what that one is.
I have not played this. I've seen it.
It came out last year.
Yeah.
I think actually at Origins or Gen Con last year, but it's been pretty popular. A polyomino game where you are building the wonders of the world. And these awesome little wood figurines, custom cut. The other option was going to be Juicy Fruits.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That one's so cute.
That's cute. But
it's a hidden gem for me. More people should play it. But this one I think you're going to like.
I'm excited about your choice, and I wonder how we'll do.
All right. If you have any opinions on Meadow or have any opinions on what games we should be playing, you can email us at pod@gleefulmeeple.com. So, I think we've talked enough about games that it's time to play a game on air. No, not a board game, a game about board games. This week, JK has created quite the setup in here. What you got for us to play?
Hey, it's the Halloween season, and we're going to celebrate this because I remember when I was a kid and I'd go out and I'd get candy from a neighbor's house. If I was with all my friends, as soon as somebody dropped something in my bag, we would go to the sidewalk and be, hey, what'd you get? So I made you guys 10 little trick-or-treat bags of components.
Oh, what'd you get?
Oh, man.
Board game edition.
Yeah. And here's what you're going to do. So what the listeners don't see is our players have little screens dividing our recording studio. They cannot see what's directly in front of each other. I will randomly select a bag and pass it to one of our players. That player is going to open the bag, look at all the contents of the game that's inside of it, and describe the contents to the other player. If the guesser can figure out what game we have in the bag just based on the description of the components alone, that'll be 1 point for. How did we determine
the
the score?
clue giver?
1 point for the clue giver
and 2 points
2
for the
points
guesser.
for the guesser. If they can't get it, they will have an opportunity to visually see the components. If they can get it at that point, no points for the clue giver, but the guesser does get 1 point. And we'll just see how this pans out from there.
And if they still can't get it, the clue giver gets a chance to steal it. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've got it. It's our trick-or-treat bag selections. Are we ready?
I guess
Sure.
so.
Which one of you wants to go first?
I will.
You're going to give clues first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get it over with.
James, please hide your eyes as this bag is going over to
Hide
Emily.
your
Hide your
eyes.
children, hide your eyes.
All right. Emily has possession of the bag. It is behind her screen.
Okay. My eyes are open.
Oh, no.
That does not sound like a good start. Not very promising at all. There's dice or cubes and something.
Okay.
Clickety clackety. Azul.
How many games do I have in my bag, James?
You have, that is just one game.
Just
this
one.
is one
Yes.
game.
It's just
Okay.
one.
The answer is not just one.
Okay, I see what's going on here. Okay,
Help me see.
So I can talk about all of these components.
You can talk about everything you have in front of you.
So I am holding a card that says Papa Gary. And it's like a nice little portrait, and then it looks like something about Papa Gary
Obsession?
gets like 3 money for like a worker or something, or money or a worker, like it's gaining something.
Obsession was a great guess there, James. It's wrong, but it was a great guess.
All right, so I'm holding another card that says Planner. So this looks like an action card. Place a worker on an action in a future season. Take the action at the beginning of that season.
Oh, I actually have an idea. Oh, I know this. It's Stonemeyer Games, winemaking, I think. And I was the name is literally escaping me right now. Viticulture.
It is viticulture.
Yeah.
There we go. Good job.
Emily, you can show him the other components that you had there.
Nice job,
you
Emily.
can go through a lot of them.
The clear things
The
that go on
clear
the
glass pebbly looking
Yep.
things, and then I had all of the workers. Like I had a rooster.
yeah,
I had the worker meeple,
a small worker.
the house token, whatever this is.
That's the large meeple.
So you have in the game
Oh,
of viticulture,
the beefy worker.
Yeah, it's worker placement, but the large worker can go any place that
and a
that they
windmill.
want.
Oh yeah.
Yay! Good job. 2 points for
Nice.
James, 1 point for Emily. We got one game down.
Heyo.
Next.
All right, bag all that back up. All right, Emily's hiding her eyes. The bag is in James' possession.
Oh boy, look at this! I don't even need to open this bag up. All right, I think we're gonna get this one together, Emily. All right, I have a die in my hands. It's wooden, and on each side of this die, I have a caterpillar, a mouse.
Oh, Wingspan.
It is Wingspan.
Let's go.
Great job.
This actually had the deluxe components in it and everything. He didn't get to explain that.
They didn't even need
like
to.
the-
I want the easy routes.
The
I
wooden
should've-
die.
Maybe I should have drawn it out. I don't know.
And as soon as he said, what was it, caterpillar? Got it.
All right, James has got his eyes closed. The bag is going over to Emily. Emily is looking rather confused at what she just grabbed. We'll see.
Confusion is my specialty? No.
Okay, I am holding paper money. It has a 50 on it. In the background, it looks like some smokestacks. There's like a science-looking symbol. I also have...
Not a lot of games use paper. Furnace?
No.
It is not furnace.
Some of the components look like that. Like there's a barrel-looking... What was that, an octagon? Barrel-looking octagonal prism.
Oh, does the base game of this use paper money? Maybe. Is this Brass Birmingham?
It is not Brass Birmingham.
There's a purple house. There's a red house. There's a brown. It might be a house or it might be a cube. It's a cube. And then there's like a black cylindrical token.
Boone Lake?
It is not Boone Lake.
I'm thinking paper money. I've not played a game in recent memory with paper money.
All right, I'll go back to a different card. The card has the number 22 in the top left-hand corner, and it has a picture of wind turbines, and it looks like the action or something at the bottom of the card. There's like a...
Does this have paper money? Is this a wind... what's the name of it? You said purple?
There's a purple house. There's also like a red house as well in the tokens.
Not Wind Valley. What's the Vincent Dutrait game? JK looks confused. It must not be
Are you
it.
thinking of Tribes of the Wind?
Tribes of the Wind, yeah.
It's not Tribes of the Wind.
Oh, dang it.
So the action on this 22 card is that there's like an arrow. It looks like kind of like a lightning bolt arrow pointing towards a house that has 2 inside the house. And then there's another card. These are like perfect squares, like these cards that I'm describing.
The card themselves are squares?
Yeah. And it has like a gray outline. I've never seen this style of like drawing in any of the games we've played, which might not help you at all. But there's another card that has a big 3 right in the middle of the card. It's a circle with some kind of like lightning bolts coming out of the circle. In the background are like those 2 smokestack type of like factory-esque drawing.
Man,
It's
I'm
all
drawing
gray.
a blank.
Would you like to
Whistle
see
stop.
anything?
It is not Whistle Stop. Are we to the point where you need the visuals?
Yeah, I don't want to draw this out. Give me the visual.
Okay.
And we'll
So
see.
here's the money.
Oh, no, I'm not. Nope. That does not get me there.
And then the cards.
Power Grid.
It is Power Grid.
Oh, I've not played that game in so long.
I was like trying to emphasize. I was like, I feel like these lightning bolts are
Yeah.
very like
if
important.
I played it once a long time ago, and I'm just gonna say it was not a good experience.
I thought for sure when she said wind turbines that you looked right at Power Grid up on my shelf. I was like, oh, he's got it.
No. No, I'm trying not to look on the shelf as much as I can. But
My one complaint about Power Grid is the paper money. I hate the paper money. It's just bad.
if you like Power Grid, I'll say coming sometime in the nearish future. It's kind of being redone-ish by the designer in space. So,
All right, James, you're going to be the next clue giver for Emily. Your bag is going over to you right now. Emily has possession of the bag. Best of luck.
Wow. This one I'm gonna have to open this bag. Just hang tight here. I got some miniatures. If that
what kind
helps
of miniatures?
at all. I have a miniature of a very large boat / submarine. I wouldn't say cyberpunk, but like Industrial Revolution plus. boat.
So descriptive.
It's a very short window of time there to go after.
Very, very heavily riveted, right? That kind of 3 stacks on top. That's the style of boat we're looking at here.
All right, what else?
Little extra, but very large red miniature. I have a miniature of...
The boat is red?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, it might not mean
continue.
anything. It's just red plastic, but...
Okay. So it's not painted.
No, it is not. I have an actual small miniature, I think 3/16 scale, the small one, with it's a guy in what looks like he has a very handlebar mustache, kind of the Russian looking cap headdress, big shotgun with a kilt actually, and he's accompanied by a boar, a very oversized large boar as his pet, with a carrying sack wrapped over his back on both sides, but boar with big tusks. That is that miniature. It's kind of a soldier, right, with a very large musket is actually probably a better descriptor, not even a shotgun, a large musket, dressed for winter with his boar being accompanied by him.
Okay.
I also have with me a cardboard piece, and it has a dial on it. The numbers go from 0 to 7 around this dial. And the insignia, it's blue, so I imagine there's other player colors, and it has an insignia on it. And there's also another kind of soldier representative of this style. But there's also kind of a large mech-ish kind of looking thing in the background, just in the art. So there's kind of this I wouldn't call it a robot, but kind of a, industrialization age of a mech. That's, but it's in a natural landscape. So kind of merging natural landscape with mechanized, large machines and robots. And there's also a picture of somebody riding a very large animal in this artwork as well. But it's all soldiers carrying, large guns and things of that nature, of that style of the early 1900s, I would say. I also have some coins, purple, gold, and silver, 10, 50, 20 of those values. And it kind of, there's nothing really, the iconography is mixed across all of them, so it wouldn't really help to describe the iconography. But
I feel like I'm going to have to see this. I don't think I know this game.
I have a little
you're doing
white
such a
circular
great
token, a yellow token, a yellow little wooden, 3D little piece, not 3D, but it's 3-dimensional wooden though. It looks like a yellow pumpkin is the best way to describe it. That's not what it is, but that's what it looks like. It's probably a gold sack, maybe, of it's circular on the bottom and kind of scrunched at the top. So it's kind of like, a scrunched sack of money.
I will throw this out to you.
Kind of looks like that.
This one I was a little bit mean in that I did include one part that came out of an expansion.
There is a white, not house looking, what's the Arc de Triomphe? It's that shape. So just a white arch, wooden piece. That's just a white arch. Gosh, I'm trying to think of how else to describe this game. I think I know what it is, but I don't know how far I'm allowed to go to describe it.
Is that all the pieces?
There's a little gray piece, little gray token that looks like a piece of, imagine what a gold bar would look like, but it's gray and not gold. It looks like that. I don't know if you played this or not, so I don't know if this small one's going to be helpful or not. There's also a brown piece that is probably wood. Not entirely sure. I have not played it myself, but very much mixed. Think mechs, like robot mechs, but in a natural environment, like fields and mountains, and it's intertwining those two visuals, if you would.
I have no idea. May I see the components?
You may. I will bag them up.
I think if you start with the cardboard one, that gives it to her
probably. Let's try that
immediately.
The spinner cardboard piece is that one. And for you listeners out there, it's a square piece of cardboard with a circular spinner attached to it.
I have never seen this before.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you've played this.
No.
I had not played it, but once I turned that over, I knew what it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was even a look of realization on your face at one point when James said something that I thought you
Well,
had
it sounded like a furnace component, but nothing else lined up with furnace.
All right.
Can I see the
show
miniature?
her the rest of the bag and see if that helps.
Yeah, no, it was like
He's like, no, it doesn't help at all.
That red boat. I was like,
there is this game is known for having conflict in the game, but the game isn't about conflict.
Too much information.
yeah, I have no idea.
Are you passing on this one, Emily?
Yeah.
James, would you like to steal it?
Is this game Scythe?
It is Scythe.
Oh, I've played Expeditions. I have not played Scythe.
I'm surprised the artwork didn't give away for you then. It's the same world.
It is, yeah. The Expeditions game was 2 years ago or like a year ago.
The ship that I included there is from one of the expansions, but it was too fun to add to the bag.
That's a nice looking ship.
It's a cute
that is
ship.
tough.
All right, so we are over to Emily as the clue giver for James again. All right, James, keep your eyes closed. Emily is being handed a bag. She has the bag. You may open your eyes, James.
Oh,
I like the sound of that. Here we go.
Here we go. Okay. It's almost like... Okay, so I am holding kind of a cardboard counter thing. It can be a 2-digit number, so it's like I have a wheel for like 0 through 9, and I have another wheel for like the second digit, also 0 through 9. It looks... I feel like that would just really give it away. It looks like the artwork looks comic booky. There is
Marvel United?
It is
Marvel Champions.
It is Marvel Champions. Yes.
Took me, so I was like,
there's also like confused and stunned cards. Yeah.
I've played it once and that was enough. Yeah. Not of the game. It was enough to get the game, to guess.
Comic booky, man.
Yeah, that. If it wasn't for that, it would have taken me a little while because I've only ever played it once.
All right. Emily's eyes are hidden. James has the next bag in his hand.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll draw this one out a little bit all right. So, I have a die. It's a red die, and it has numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 6. Okay, so it's 6-sided die, but it's not just the numbers. There's also icons on this die.
Oh.
Number 5 has a star. Number 4 has what looks like 2 cards as an indicator, like roll this and something to do with 2 cards. And that's it. Large, chunky red die. I also have some heart tokens.
Final Girl?
It is Final Girl, yes. Way to go.
Yay. Nice.
I also have Asami. Whenever you draw at least one item card, draw an extra card and choose one. You are immune to item trap cards.
Shout out to Dwayne, who's had this set up on his
Sitting
table,
on his table for the last few
months.
episodes.
Yeah.
Years, maybe? Yeah, I'm not.
All right, so we're going to go. Each of you is going to have 2 more packages each. Current score is James is at 8. Emily is at 6.
Ooh, small lead. All right.
All right. No, wait.
Wait, no.
Yeah,
Yes.
James
I was like,
hides
what
his
am I
eyes.
doing? I just
We're going
guessed.
over to Emily. Emily has the bag. James, you may open your eyes.
Everything is clear.
All right. I have a red meeple, a white meeple. I thought they were pretty traditional meeple shapes, but they might not be.
Ooh, special meeples. Speeples.
I have what looks like a palm tree wooden token.
Through the desert?
Okay. There is kind of like an orange. It's kind of arch shaped. It might be like a tent. I'm not entirely sure. There's what looks to be a gray token that kind of looks like a mountain range. Oh, you know what? These might be turbans on their heads.
It's not through the desert. Oh, God, I think I know what it is.
Full disclosure on this one, much like Scythe,
Uh-huh.
there are components that aren't in the base game on this one.
Oh, great. I still think I know what it is, and it's not coming to me.
Okay, so I also have a coaster-looking piece, like it's just a cardboard square, and on it is what looks like a pit. So it's like a red, just a big gaping hole in the ground that leads to some red abyss, and there looks like some kind of rock overhang, like it's very rocky, a little bit of grass, but it's the same design on both sides.
Maybe I don't know what this is.
I also have a card that it has a green background. It has 2 baskets of fish.
Yes, I know what this is, and that is, I cannot. It's the Mancala mechanism game, and or I'm wrong. I can't. I've only played it once. All these games I've only played once, and it's just not stuck in my head.
Oh, I think I might know the name of this. I don't know. I might not. But
This 5 Tribes?
It is 5
Yes.
tribes.
Okay, yeah. What is this?
That is a mountain range piece
Okay,
that,
so I was
that
right.
came with one of the expansions, and it
Yeah.
does block movement to a section of the board. So
Is the chasm tile?
that's from an expansion.
Yeah,
as well.
okay.
Yes. All right, so James is the next clue giver. And the bag is going over to James. Keep your eyes closed. I see you peeking over there, Emily. Don't be looking my way.
Oh my gosh! Sorry, Dwayne's gone, so I had to.
That's a really good Dwayne impression.
Okay. This is gonna be a tough one, listeners, because I have no idea what this is.
Really?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
All right, so we got some meeple, some cardboard tokens, 4 cubes, standard square wooden cubes. It is black, purple, white, and orange.
Oh.
I also have a green meeple, but not.
No. Is this Hansa?
It is not Hansa.
Okay, continue then.
Slightly larger square cubes, but not by much. A green
Are they
meeple
cubes or are they discs?
and I'd say off-white. It might be meant to be white, but it's a little, off-white meeple. But they're not your standard meeple shapes, but it's definitely a person. I have a cardboard token here that looks like a ruby, and it has 100 on it. It's a bright red ruby. And on the back side, it has an iconography of a dagger and a swishy-looking S on the back side. But that is one of the cardboard tokens, a 100 value ruby. I also have a very distinct moon-shaped crescent moon token with a hole punched through it. I don't know what the hole is meant to... Can't really tell what it's meant to be used for, if it sits on top of something and spins, but it is a yellow-orange-ish crescent moon cardboard token with a hole punched through the middle of it. That's that one. And the largest item in this bag is a cardboard tile. It's square in shape, definitely like a building-esque tile. It actually, in fact, has the word building written across it on one side. And it is fully square except for one corner, which is cut out kind of in the design of what you'd find for molding inside a home alongside the top. So picture that kind of like classic looking molding that you'd see running around the top edge of a ceiling. And it kind of has that cut out, right? To look like maybe you're building a building. And on the other side of this cardboard square token, it has a cost of 3. The name of this particular item is House of Good Spirits. That is the name of this card token. It has an orange cube on it, probably meant to match the orange cube in the bag here, and a cube of any color. It's a question mark, so probably a wild cube. Maybe that's how you play this out. The owner, it says owner on the bottom left corner and has orange cube there as well. And there's also a blank picture of the shape of the meeple on this cardboard token. Yeah.
And we're still talking about the square.
Still talking about the square cardboard token. That one side has the word building written on it, and the other side has all that other information. House of Good Spirits. Cost is 3.
It's not Alhambra, is it?
It is not Alhambra.
It is not.
Also, like trying to think of games that James doesn't know is also a challenge.
I have an idea, but the Crescent Moon, stuff is also it's popping up on this cardboard square tile as well.
Where is the hole in the crescent moon?
The actual right in the middle. So if you picture a crescent moon, go halfway down that moon and punch a hole right through the middle. That is where that is. Yeah, I mean, it has that. There's a kind of Middle Eastern vibe to it with the whole crescent moon and some of the other just swirliness of the iconography and artwork here.
And what color were the meeples again?
Green
and off-white.
Off-white, yeah, probably meant to be white, but not bright.
What color were the cubes?
Orange, purple, black, and white.
Black and white, yeah, and that white.
I feel like that should be a huge.
That white's pure white. So
yeah. I feel like that should be a huge giveaway for me.
And I have nothing else.
And there's matching cube colors on that building tile.
Just the orange. But there's also one that has, it's blank and with a question mark. So I imagine that's wild.
Like a wild, you could use
I'd imagine there's plenty more of these with
Imhotep?
All the colors.
It is not Imhotep.
Okay, can I see something? Can I see this building tile?
There you go. The building tile is in Emily's hands.
Okay, the only other thing that's coming to mind is Lords of Waterdeep.
It is Lords of Waterdeep.
It is?
Yep.
Oh, my Lord.
Great, because I've never played that, and I would not have guessed that.
All right, James, close your eyes. Your last bag is going over to Emily. It is in her hand. She is looking very puzzled and has no idea what I just gave her. All right, you may open your eyes, James.
Oh, all right.
Okay. There's a few tokens in here. The wooden tokens looks like a is that an octopus? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm gonna ignore that one for now. There's a blue bird, kind of like the dove, kind of mid-flight shape.
Okay.
There is a dial, and on one side of the dial, I'm assuming. One side of the dial is a rope that's kind of like wrapped. It's like the rope is the shape of the dial, the circle and whatever. And it has like a carabiner on one side. And
like that's the artwork you're saying is on it?
Yes. Yeah. That's the artwork.
You don't own Coloma, do you? No.
I do own Coloma.
Is this Coloma?
It's not Coloma.
Oh, okay. I know exactly what this is. So on the dial, it's 1 through 5 in numbers, but the last symbol in this dial is a person and a dog. And then
Pioneer
there's
Days. No.
There's also a token that looks like a stick, like it's just brown and it has a couple branches, and then there's a orange circular token. Oh, I think I know it. I think that's supposed to be a tennis ball. The way it has like a white U on the circular orange token. There is a cardboard token that is a square, and it is a red X on a black background.
I'm trying to put it together here, guys. A stick token. Is this Stone Age? No.
It is not Stone Age.
You got sticks in there. Yeah, there's wood.
It's very modern-esque looking.
A modern stick.
Well,
yes, it's a very advanced
It's
stick.
a very modern
Yes.
stick.
But I mean like
cutting-edge
it's
stick.
like shaped like a real life stick, not just like a rectangular prism, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, super helpful. Let's see. It's not 3D printed stick. It's wooden.
No, it's wooden.
It's a wooden stick. I left a stick in the bag just for fun.
It's from his yard, actually.
I'm on the.
And
I don't own Legacy
the
of
pink
You.
token looks like a plushy octopus.
Wait, there's a pink plushy octopus.
You know, like
thing.
those like plushy octopuses that you can like reverse, and then it's like on one side it's happy, and the other side it looks like that.
Oh,
and it's pink.
Okay. Yeah, still struggling on this one. Stick, a pink octopus, and a guy with a dog on a 1 through 6.
1 through 5.
1 through 5 spinner or wheel.
Yeah.
If that doesn't give you the game, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to get there, right? I mean, that should
Would
be.
you like to see
It's
anything?
amazing watching your guys' brains work on this. This is awesome.
I think I know this one.
Pink. This the pink octopus. I don't know if I have.
I would not focus too much on that one.
Okay, well, the stick. That should be. I mean, how many games have a pink octopus? Yeah, let me look at it. I don't want to draw this out too long. Oh yeah, no, not helpful. Not
Just
helpful.
dropped the rope.
At all. Nope. I got nothing.
Can I guess?
No, not yet. Just give me a second. Let me.
I gotta recoup my gap.
These might be deluxe components because they are screen printed.
Oh yeah, I did forget to mention that.
There's one game that I know has sticks in it, but not the rest of this stuff. It's not. Let me spin the dial here. 1, 2. A dog. It's a lady. That's not a guy.
It is a person.
It's a wide-brimmed hat.
Okay.
And
that changes everything.
That does.
It
change. You don't have dog walking, do you? That board game.
What's it called, James?
What's it called?
Oh my gosh. It's I only dog park.
It is dog park.
Yes.
As soon as I saw the dog, I was like, "Oh, this is a leash," but I didn't want to say leash.
Trying to save your steal for yourself.
I did say dog. I said it's a person and a dog.
All right, so we have one bag left. And in terms of scoring, it is not a winnable game at this point for Emily. But I do want to see how this last game shakes out. So, Emily, please hide your eyes as we hand this bag over to James. All right, James has it. Emily, you can open your eyes.
Okay. I know this game. My brain's not clicking, but I'll get there. So we have a dry erase marker.
Does it have an eraser on the
It has
top?
an eraser on the end,
right.
and it's just a black and white. It's the
Green
cap.
team wins.
The cap is black, and it is not green team wins. I have a slightly what I think are deluxeified component package here, at least for some of the stuff. One of them is a black and white gear, so it is think of like a metal gear with a hole in the middle and gears along the outside.
Is this a wooden or
metal?
Metal.
It is it's a metal deluxeified component.
I see.
Probably a cardboard token in the base game. It's yellow, but it's like black outlined. That's kind of the way that it looks. Very nice looking. I have a large purple square plasticky piece that has 4th written on it. 4th. 4th. I also have a number of small circular tokens that have what look like think of a rounded off edge of a Red Cross looking plus, like that kind of like chunky plus sign, but instead of it being hard corners, it's kind of soft corners all the way around.
Border radius.
And on the little it's a 5 pixel radius all the way around. And inside this little cross-looking thing, it's kind of like amiibo-looking stuff. It's all white, but it looks like you're looking at something from under a microscope. Just visually, that's kind of what it looks like. It's a circular red token, but it has that printed on it. Now, most importantly, there are a bunch of dice in this bag, and these dice do not have numbers on them. It is blue, red, purple, lime green, and brown gray is kind of being kind there, but kind of that kind of color. And printed on these dice are symbols. So we have a half circle, a full circle, that same plus sign kind of that I described earlier. You have diamonds, half diamonds. You have like an explosion symbol and a half explosion symbol, a square and a half square. Almost as if these symbols are meant to be like matched up with each other to form full versions if they're half versions. There's also a star in here, a upgraded chunky looking star. It's a brown star with a printed on top of it, a little, it's red printing on top of the brown star. So it's like a red star on top of a brown star. And those are all of the pieces I have. Yeah. Any thoughts? Any questions? Want me to go back to any of these?
There's so many very specific things.
The dice are very specific.
But they're all shapes?
Yep. Everything.
Oh, is this Stay Cool?
It's not Stay Cool.
Not Stay Cool.
I'm trying to think of, first of all, JK does not do roll and write games. What game does JK own that has a dry erase marker? And all of these, is it a
Has Emily played this?
Is it a party game? I don't think so.
It's not a party game. You may have played this with me. Maybe.
At the very least, I think you've seen it being played.
Yeah. Recently?
Yes.
Yeah.
Moonrakers?
It is not Moonrakers.
Okay, a brown star with a screen printing of a red star on it.
Yes, that is correct.
The dice have these kind of primary-esque colors.
Yeah, they're a little off-tinted, so it's not deep purple, but it's purple. They're swirly. They're nice dice.
Oh.
So they're the color is like the
pearlescent.
Pearlescent.
Yes.
That's a good way to put it.
That's very descriptive.
Yes.
As
you play this game, your pool of dice will grow.
Now, how would you know that from the bag? See, you wouldn't know that.
I'm trying to help, JK.
I'm with you. Okay.
Dice Miner?
No,
but that doesn't have a dry erase marker either.
Nope. I feel like James is rushing the end game.
Can I see
I'm
that?
not. We can hang out as long as we want. You want to see it?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Handing the bag over to Emily.
There was a pun in what I just said too.
Rushing the end game?
Is there?
There is.
Oh, that's the amoeba looking thing.
Right? It kind of, under a microscope, that's kind of what it looks like.
This does look familiar. But it's not set. I have no idea what that gear represents. Oh, I'm going to be
That's the oddball one.
So angry. What is this game?
Can we give more clues?
Yeah. Wait, hold on. What? That's the star. It's not Stay Cool.
It is definitely not Stay Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like a... Okay. I gotta give up.
James?
It is the Fox Experiment.
It's the Fox Experiment.
Oh, I haven't... I don't even know what that game is.
In the Fox Experiment, you are reproducing a Russian era cloning or breeding. of foxes. So
yeah, real
breeding.
story.
Yes. Get it? Russian the ending.
Oh,
get it?
now
Yeah,
I'm with you,
I knew that was the hint.
They were trying to domesticate foxes.
Domesticating
them, those foxes. And I mean, there were some positive results that came out of that experiment.
Some
but
positive.
Yeah.
Yes, but yes, that's the most recent game from the designer of Wingspan, Elizabeth Hargrave.
It's really fun. All right, so final score on our little trick and treat game. Emily, you got 9 points.
But it wasn't enough.
James got you with 13.
Oh, 13 on Halloween.
On the trick or treat game. Yay!
Hey.
Nice.
Thanks, JK. That was fun.
You guys.
Thanks.
Well, is that another one?
We did it.
We did it?
Oh,
We
we have
did
reached
do
the
it.
end of our Halloween episode. Spooky. Hey, we'd like to start out by thanking our sponsor, Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. If you are shopping at your local mall, want to hit that food court and get the best, finest fried fish and chips, go to Arthur Treacher's. Don't go to Captain D's. Don't go to Long John Silver's. Pale imitations of Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you do want to reach out to us, you may email us at pod@gleefulmeeple.com or follow us on Instagram at gleefulmeeplepod. This has been a wonderful time. Hope you all enjoy your Halloween and come see us at a Gleeful Meeple event in November. Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.